He's one of the suspected gunmen in the Kenyan shopping centre siege, a Somali refugee who moved to Norway as a child. Hassan Abdi Duhali is seen as being part of Generation 1.5, people who are born outside Norway but having arrived young and finding themselves falling between two cultures. Well, we're going to be speaking to guests in Oslo and in Nairobi. You can see them getting ready just there. And then a little bit later on, we'll hear from US voters about how the government shutdown has changed politics there. We're here live for the next hour, and there are numerous ways to get in touch. You can get in touch via phone in the old-fashioned way, by Twitter, Google+, or you can tweet us using the hashtag WHYS.
Talking about it. Top priority.
I experience.
This is chaos for you. People are going to want to know. Let's just say something.
Well, thanks for being with us here on World Have Your Say. If you've got any comments or questions, send them right into us and they'll come to me here on my tablet, and we'll bring as many of them to you throughout the next hour. Now, let me introduce you to the guests we are joined by. We're joined by Hawa, who is a Somali student in Oslo. Also, Andre Kvakstad, who is Deputy Mayor of Ski, which is a town just south of Oslo. And also George Musamali, who's in Nairobi, a security expert and former commando with the General Service Unit, which is a paramilitary wing of the Kenyan police. So welcome all of you to World Have Your Say. Hawa, I'll start with you first of all. You're a Norwegian Somali woman, you're a student. How do you respond to these thoughts, it's still suspected at this stage, that one of the gunmen at the Kenyan shopping centre siege was in fact from your community in Norway? An incredibly difficult listen. If you want to listen to more of Nula's reports from Malta, you can search for SoundCloud and BBC World Service. We're going to take a quick break and then we'll be talking about the US debt deal and how the 16-day government shutdown has affected US politics. So many people disillusioned. We will speak to more US voters in the next few minutes. Stay tuned.
Let's just say something.
Hello, I'm Chloe Tilley. Well, the US debt deal has been done, but questions are still being asked about how America allowed itself to so close to what analysts described as global economic calamity. For the next 20 minutes, we'll discuss how the shutdown has affected US politics. Welcome back to World Have Your Say.
Talking about it. Top priority.
I experience.
This is chaos for you. People are going to want to know. Let's just say something.
Well, if you're in the US, you can tweet us using the hashtag WHYS. What is your attitude towards your politicians after the shenanigans of the last 16 days? Let me introduce you to guests who are joining us now. Ed Morrissey is senior editor and correspondent for hotair.com in Minnesota. Brian Walsh is Republican strategist in Washington, D.C. But first, let's speak to Elizabeth Plank, who's editor at Policy Mike in New York. Elizabeth, welcome to the programme. Yesterday, President Obama said the American people are completely fed up with Washington. Do you think that's a fair assessment? We've got lots of comments coming into us. Donna in the US called to say the people who did the most damage were Obama and Kerry. They spoke about the US public in the same way the Chinese talk about us. Those two are trying to turn us into Europe. Is that so worrying, Donna? Frank posts on Facebook, how come you never talk about the mess and failure that Obamacare is? And Tony in New York has tweeted using the hashtag WHYS. Yes, we voted our politicians into office, but our choices are always the lesser of two evils. Well, that's all for this edition of World Have Your Say. If you want to carry on talking about this, you can go to facebook.com/World Have Your Say. But in just over an hour's time, you can join Nula, who is going to be on BBC World Service Radio. They're going to be discussing what's been described by a politician here in the UK as national shame of England's high number of chronically lonely people. Well, thanks for your company this week. I will be back to speak with you again at the same time next week. Have a good week.